gentlemen, welcome to this latest installment of Common Sense. And today on Common Sense, we're going to discuss some matters that, came to the news journal here a little bit ago. As a matter of fact, a couple days back. If you're listening to this today, this is being recorded, so in front of a non-studio audience, which I like to say every once in a while. My name is Jason Davis, and we are here in the Iron Bunker, hidden in the highlands of Volusia County, protected by two rabid Pomeranians and a crazy cat. Yeah, a couple of days ago or so, a special report came out on the Volusia septic tank crisis. Newsjournal.com will give credit where credit is due here as soon as the old internet decides it wants to wake up and do its thing. And let's see, this is written by, I can't find, it's a news journal here, and by Dinah Pulver. That's right, she wrote this. So anyways, it goes on about the septic tank situation here in Volusia County and how our waterways are, well, shall we say, not quite so clean, you know. But let me tell you, if you read the story, it says extra nitrogen stimulates the growth of algae species that form thick beds and cause stress on other aquatic species by spurring wild fluctuations in oxygen levels. Well, there's the answer for the whole thing. That's it right there. You know, in 2014, I was sitting on the county council. I was the Volusia County chairman, and Mr. Doug Daniels, one of the council members for the Ormond Beach area and up in that area, he said he was out on his boat in the intercoastal waterway, and he was doing some floating around, and he got stuck on a sandbar or two, and he was joking about that. But at the end of the conversation, he says, the whole place smells like a big septic tank. So I got to thinking about it. Okay, smells like a septic tank. Let me go look into this. So I got in my car in a couple of days, and I drove down there to the intercoastal waterway near Oak Hill. Stopped off at Goodrich's restaurant there and had lunch and talked with some people that are around the area. Yeah, it smells pretty bad. And everybody wants to claim up that septic tanks are the problem. Well, they're kind of true. Septic tanks are a part of the problem. But there's other problems involved here that put nitrogen into the water system. And yes, nitrogen spurs the it actually reduces the oxygen level. See, there's another little chemical that's involved in this thing, and it's called ammonia. And ammonia is the absence of oxygen in the bottom levels of the water. We have water columns. And the St. John's Water Management, everybody, actually, you can get online and see these things online. And it records temperature and flow and all these levels of compounds. But they do it in the upper and the middle column. They don't really do it on the bottom. And the bottom column is where everything is. That's where life is. Animals don't float around on the top. Some fish do. Turtles do. But everything that's microorganism, the base of life, really starts on the bottom, because these little organisms, they just kind of go with the flow and the way the tides push them and such. But anyways, in 2014, when I did my research on this, and I took water samples, and I took these water samples to a scientist for Battelle Corporation, which is the leading scientific laboratories in the country. Yes, whenever there's a chemical spill or something going on in the environment, who does the government call? They call Battelle. Battelle also has things like they have the patent on CDs and DVD players and burners and such like this. So it's not a little bitty mom and pop organization. It's a major corporation. I mean, they have revenue in the billions every year. So anyways, I took this to the lead scientist, and they do have a lab, actually a center where they test paints and things that metals and corrosiveness to salt air and regular air. They have this little research facility over in Ponce Inlet. So I went over and took this water to him and explained to him the situation. He says, I'll look into it. Well, while he's doing this, I'm still looking around, and, of course, septic tanks, in my mind, they're the culprits. They're the ones that are causing all the problems. But then I realized, no, it's not. See, we have this thing called the aquifer, which filters water before it gets into our drinking water. And whenever there's impurities in groundwater or such, it percolates down in the ground. And there are organisms that eat this stuff up, the bad stuff, and the other stuff gets pushed away, and it rises to the top to be burned off by the sun. It's a natural occurring event. So all of our nitrogen in our intercoastal waterways is not by septic tanks. So what is it by? Well, I got to looking a little bit further. Every time we build a road, we build one of these retention ponds. Have you driven by one when it's full of water? Yeah, it's full of water, and it's full of algae and toads and frogs and bugs and mosquitoes and stuff like this, but not a lot of. It's really nasty. And they've got one down in Seminole County now over in the Spruce Creek area, which is starting to become a little bit of a problem for everybody. Well, I live out here in a farm, and we know that if you have a pond and it starts to get algae or something in it and you don't want it in there, what we do is we put a pump in there, we blow the air up. We blow it actually into the air. And as the water filtrates down in the air, it oxygenates it, and it kills the oxygen-depleting algae. See, algae need low oxygen to thrive. Too much oxygen kills algae. So anyways, we got to talking about this, and I consulted with other scientists at Bethune-Cookman and Florida Technological University, as well as local conservation organizations. And we explained, we were talking about this, and as we're talking, I'm learning and listening and formulating a plan, and I finally came up with it, and I went to the Battelle Corporation, this guy, and I said, here's our problem. Ammonia. Yes. Good old NH3, ammonia, the stuff you use to clean your house with. Our mom used to mop the floor with it. They'd put it in a bucket with hot water stirred up. Remember, it smelled, but it used to kill almost anything. Well, it does. Nothing that I know of lives in ammonia. So, with that said, if we somehow were able to get oxygen down to the bottom of the water columns, and we were able to circulate oxygen in there and mix with this ammonia level, the air bubbles would basically break down the ammonia level, and it's NH3. And when you put oxygen in there, it takes two of those hydrogens away from the nitrogen-hydrogen mix, and it creates this thing called H2O, which is water. That's right. So when you take away the hydrogens and you put them to an oxygen molecule, then what you have is a very light compound. And that light compound floats above the water. That's the bubbles up. And then the bubbles pop. And that's where you might get some of this smell of ammonia. But you know what? Ammonia is not a very high bonded molecule, and heat breaks it down. And then the nitrogen bonds with other chemicals. And voila, we have the air that we breathe, which is 70% plus or minus nitrogen. Then I'm working with this Battelle Corporation. We came up with these bridge adapters, which would help with the flow of the older style bridges that we have here in Volusia County. And then he came up with this machine that's solar powered that actually would force air down into the lower column and bubble it along. Now, this would actually work and do what we just said. It would break up the ammonia, then it would add oxygen to the hydrogen, and voila, we have water again, and then we have this inert gas that bubbles off. So with all the science involved and everything going on, we took this to the Central Florida Regional Planning Department. Actually, it's the Central Florida Regional Planning Committee, not department, but committee. So anyways, we took it there and we presented this project. It was going to incorporate the adapters for the bridges. It was going to incorporate the air pumps. It was going to incorporate some manifold systems to help move water, this old deoxygenated water, that bad water out, so to speak. And we would get this river cleaned up. Now, we wouldn't say that we would get the river cleaned up unless we had some backing on that. So our backup went to Bethune-Cookman, talked with some microbiologists there. We went to the Florida Technological University and talked to some of the people that have got more PhDs than you could shake a stick at. And one of these doctors put our program into a real-time model. It's a computer model, and he puts all the data in. He says, all right, let's see what happens. Boom, he pushes the button. Of course, it speeds up time, the projected time. But in his estimation, within 700 days, less than 2 years, you would be able to swim in that water, and you would be able to eat the fish that come out of that water. Wow. And you wouldn't have all this horrible odor. So we took all this information to the East Central Florida Regional Planning Committee, told them all about it, and they loved it. They really did. But there's always a naysayer. And yes, we had one. Because at that, timing is everything, and unfortunately, this was very bad timing that we were put on there, because just before we went there, Florida passed Amendment 1, which would put several billions of dollars into water restoration projects. Of course, I wasn't too worried. We are a water restoration project. But the people that want all those billions of dollars for themselves, they were the ones that said, oh, you're going to take money from us. We don't want you to take our money. So, no, and they fought us. And I know that, well, we'll get into that in a minute. So anyways, the East Central Florida Regional Planning Commission said, why don't you take this to Volusia County, because that's where you're going to have to go with all this, because it's going to be the intercoastal waterway in Volusia County. We said, okay. So we took it there. And, of course, I, being, the lead person on it, everybody found out that I'd been doing all this research, and I was, actually committed, and there was a web page, and my name was on it, and all that stuff. So this became a very political situation. Regardless of the fact that we had lead scientists in the office, in the chambers right then and there, testifying. We had doctors from 3 universities sitting right there, nodding their head, and they were recognized. And they were all nodding their head. Even though that happened, the politics of the game came through. 2 people joined me on my quest. One was Miss Joyce Cusack, the other was Mr. Josh Wagner. But everybody else on the council, all 4, said, nope, we can't support that. They couldn't support it. And it's not like we were asking them for money, because we weren't. What we asked for was, we just need basically a simple endorsement. Yes, go forth and do great things. That's all we want. Because we couldn't apply for government grants and work with government agencies without that support. But we didn't get it. And hence, the water program died. Or so we thought. It was only a month or 2 later that St. John's Water Management got with Volusia County, Seminole County, Orange County, and St. John's Water Management and said, hey, we'll make our own water committee, and we'll do the Indian River Lagoon Water Commission. Yay. They did this, and they brought in all these politicians, and for 6-7 months, almost a year, all they did was argue and carry on and discuss about how the committee's going to work. See, that's the problem with politics. They want to identify a problem. It's there. It's real. It exists. It's terrible. We need to clean it up. Okay, but how are we going to set up our organization? That's all it's about. They took over $250,000 from all the counties to make this organization work. And all they ever did was discuss about the bylaws, the rules of order, who's in charge, who's not in charge, what's your position. Everybody wanted a position. Everybody wanted to be in charge. Everybody wanted something in this organization except to do the job that they said they were going to do. So needless to say, in a year, the organization failed, but the money never came back to Volusia County or any other county. They kept the money. And voila, we are right back where we started from. So now we have tens of thousands of Volusia County residents flushing toilets and taking showers and washing clothes every day. And it all goes down into their septic tanks. Yes, it does. And every 5 or 6 years, you're supposed to have your septic tank checked and verified that it's working. Because it is. It works. Mine does. I have it checked quite frequently. But, it's all about government. Government's about money. Where is the money? If you want to know something about government, just follow the money. Where's the money go? And they all want something to talk about and discuss and argue and debate, but not do anything. Really sad. Because it's really quite a simple little process to get this job done. The process, when we started it, the cost of it was going to be about, $30 to $40 million. And I'm sure by now, it's up to $120 to $200 million, just because of cost, because of time. So I was doing this and working on this, and here we go. Mr. Waters, who is one of the writers or bloggers or posters on the Facebook page for Volusia County Government Forum, they have begun their marketing campaign to, let me try that again. The News Journal and Volusia County Councilwoman Deb Denny's began their marketing campaign for a revote on the half-cent sales tax increase. The News Journal headline reads, "Our Septic Tank Crisis." You know what? We've known about this crisis for years. So this is nothing new. There's no news here. But the only thing that's, for over 5 years, Deb and the Volusia County Council sat on a septic tank replacement study, which we did, and our water quality degraded into a disastrous state. Well, it did, but not because of that. It did because of all the other things included. And one of the other things that I didn't mention is that, all sea life, seals and dolphins and whales, fish, turtles, snakes, all those little organisms out there, you know what the ocean and the waterways are? It's their bathrooms. That's right, they go to the bathroom there, and guess what they're creating? Ammonia. So it's an ongoing problem that you're not going to get rid of. It's an ongoing problem that unless somebody actually steps up to do something, do the research, do something more than just sit around and talk and do a study on, you've got to get it under control. So, in the immortal words of Mr. Roger Waters, here's his last statement on his posting. The 2020 elections are coming. Billy Wheeler and Ed Kelly must go. Vote them out. Miss Deb Denny, in 2 years, she'll be termed out because she's overstayed her term, actually because of a change of the way we vote. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the problem. It's not the water. It's not the septic tanks. Really? It's the elected officials that will not do their job. That's your problem. That's our problem. All of us. And if we want our water systems fixed, our intercoastal waterway cleaned up, and all of these things taken care of, then what we do is we need to remove the people that just sit around and want to be talking heads and not do their job. So, there you go. That's my 2 cents. You don't like them, if they're not doing their job, and guess what, folks? Vote them out. I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Waters. Moving on, I have other commentary about Mr. Kelly and the other situations up there, but we'll save those for later. I also made a post here on this Volusia County Forum explaining the situation as I just explained it to you. So if you'd like, I would pop on that on Facebook, Volusia County Government Forum. Free plug out to you guys. So anybody there, if you want to go see it, it's the special report, Volusia Septic Tank Crisis. Go ahead and check it out. So with that, common sense needs to actually come through, and we actually need to get the people out that are not doing their job. So with that, there you go. Common sense prevails. My name is Jason Davis, and we'll see you next time.